morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. It's going to have a tube. Hope you're well today. Hope you're feeling grand and all's well in your world. I'm doing another Q&A Wednesday, everybody. I hope you're well today. Yes. So let's get to question one, shall we? Question one has a few parts to it. I recently bought a CR120, but when I use your John Frusciante setting, it sounds nothing like. What settings should I change? Also, my DS2's volume jumps when I use it. Is this normal? And how do you make a wah-wah pedal sound good and not just moving up and down? Right, the setting I have for John won't work for you simply because you're not using exactly what I'm using. The sound that comes out of my CR120 when I have the John sound is an amalgamation of all sorts of different components, down to like leads, speakers, patch leads, you know, the guitar, the pickups, everything. So all the settings that I give are never going to work exactly for you because you're totally different environment, totally different equipment, and so on and so forth. So it's never going to be exact. You're going to have to tweak and mess around with it until until it works with your setup. That's just unfortunately that's just the nature of it, so to say. It's what I would always recommend. What I always would say is if I give a certain setting, that use that as like a building block. And if anybody else gives you a setting, use that as a building block. Never take it as kind of like it's going to work. You know, you're not going to be able to dial your amp in and it's there immediately. You know, you need to kind of like take a bit of time with it yourself and tweak it to your playing, your guitar, and yourself, and in general. So that's the reason why the settings won't work. One thing I would say, if you're saying it doesn't have the punchy kind of sound, it's a bit dark. One thing I would say then, if it's too dark, I would kind of boost up the mids and lower the bass on the CR120. Kind of like boost up those mids a little bit more. Maybe I wouldn't really recommend you touch the treble dial on the dirty channel. It's not really really the best kind of thing. To be kind of messing with it, it kind of adds a harshness instead of kind of like that real kind of nice warm mid-rangey thing that John's kind of tone is made of. It kind of, the treble adds kind of like a harshness. So I'd boost up your mids and lower your bass if that's the kind of case. But like I say, it's not. I mean, my setting won't work for everyone. If it works for anybody at all other than me, that's just the nature of things. It's like that old saying that I can't remember who it was who said it, but I think it was Eddie Van Halen, but I can't remember. Eddie Van Halen had somebody else play through his setup, and it sounded nothing like him. And I've heard other people, like people who have played through Angus Young's setup and sounded nothing like Angus Young's setup, even though it's just straight into a Marshall Plexi. And it just comes down to individual things of the way you play, the sound you have in your hands to start with. And also certain other fundamental things like pickups, string gauge, the guitar in general, the leads, the pedals, all sorts of stuff come into that kind of come as factors when it comes down to sounding the same. So with the setting I've got, that's kind of that works for me, but that wants to be kind of like that can be like your starting point to kind of like to build on getting that sound out of your CR120, the John Frusciante sound out of your CR120. But I would say, if you're going to change anything, change the mids and the bass. Don't really touch the treble, it'll add a bit of nastiness. If you need to, put the treble in about 1, but I wouldn't say any higher than 1. Okay, so also you said your DS2 jumps. Sorry, when you kick it on. That's not normal, no. I've got a million videos on that, and I don't know yet. I might do a video on Friday or Monday on the DS2. It's not going to be like a demo of it, but I am going to address this because I've addressed it a lot, but I'll address it in a separate video so it'll be easier to find. Because I think the other times I've addressed this, I've done it in a Q&A, and sometimes that's kind of hard to track back and find that exact kind of thing. So I'm going to do it with the WH10W in a video and address that issue. So, but yeah, that's not normal. It's basically the DS2 isn't level because it's not compressed enough. Like for instance, if I turn my jackhammer off, we're going through the MG. This is just a clean sound, so super clean, very quiet. If I kick a DS2 on, it'll jump because the compression's not there, and it sounds horrible and naff, but if I put the jackhammer on, which I use for my John Frusciante clean, you know, that all of a sudden the DS2 will not jump out. Like I said, I'll go into more detail in the video, but turn it off all day, there's no volume jump there, and the same with the Ibanez Wah, does the same thing. It doesn't want to see a clean signal, it wants to see a heavily compressed, gained up, but not overly super gainy, overdriven kind of signal, so to say. So, but again, like I said, I'll address that in a separate video altogether. And also the question, your last part of the question was, how do you make a wah pedal sound good and not just moving up and down? Well, the wah pedal is just it's an expression pedal. I mean, there are times where you know that's cool and that's kind of needed, but excuse me. If you kind of go through the land of like John Frusciante and Jimi Hendrix, it's a lot more expressive. You can kind of use it to kind of like make kind of bends stick out. Like if you kind of like start with the pedal all the way back, and then as you bend up the string, push the wah pedal forward, it really comes out. You know, that's a really expressive thing to do. Also another thing comes out of the Jimi Hendrix thing is leave the wah pedal on full tilt. Like for instance, if you're playing like Voodoo Child, you know, when you come into the solo, you can leave a wah pedal on full tilt, like damn, just turn it on. You know, Jimmy would do that live for solos like Fire, like if I did Fire. Just leave the pedal on full tilt. And also Jimmy would do a thing, I'm getting into what I want to cover in my Jimi Hendrix series now, but Jimmy would do a thing where he'd turn the wah pedal off one note, like if again Voodoo Child, or just as noise before a solo, like before the last solo Jimmy kicks his wah pedal on and then turns it off, so so you get that kind of thing. So, so there's loads of different ways to use a wah pedal, but I agree, it kind of does get a bit boring when you just kind of, you know, that's not really using the wah pedal to its fullest. I don't think it. Like studying people like Jimi Hendrix and John Frusciante, like they really are expressive with the wah pedal. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of that real, like I say, it's just expression. It's just making those notes to sing a little bit different. There's a great bit in the Alice in Chains song, Man in the Box, where Jerry Control does it, which is really cool, which is another really cool thing. So as you're kind of like bending, again, you're gradually pushing up the wah pedal, but it gives this really kind of like closed to open kind of stuff. You know, and also other things of like, you know, not fully pushing it forward and not it being all the way back, and you can kind of do that Mark Knopfler thing when it's kind of like somewhere in the middle. You know, or Mick Ronson kind of thing. You know, where it's just wedged. You know, you can do and Brian Robertson kind of things where you kind of really, you know, those kind of things. There's so many different ways, and there's so many great wah-wah players. I think number one being Jimi Hendrix, because he kind of showed us what could be done with a wah-wah pedal. I mean, I know Eric Clapton had the wah pedal before Jimmy, but I feel Jimmy just took the wah pedal and just made it something else. And like I say, the wah pedal is an expression pedal. At the end of the day, you have to manipulate it. You know, you're not. You know, it's not a pedal like a distortion or a phaser or a flanger or something. You just turn on and it does what it does. You have to make it do things, and I find some of the times when I'm using a wah pedal is I'll just leave it. I'll be playing away and I'll just leave it in one place. It'll kind of sit in one place. You know, I'm not actually wiring it. I've just got it wedged. If that's kind of like full thing, it's like there. It's just like a tiny bit back from full, and it just gives it a different tone. And again, and that's another thing that the wah is. It's a tone. It's a tone changer basically. It's not just a wah wah effect. It changes your tone. It can add different things to rhythm. You know, if you take the intro to Voodoo Child. There's so much you can do, and also kind of like, you know, aspects of funk kind of thing. I mean, if you look at, you know, you can play one note with a wah pedal with scratches, with different rhythms on your foot, and again, not pressing it all the way forward, but not bringing it all the way back, and you know, you can get all sorts of like single note kind of really cool kind of. You know, you can all do cool kind of things like that. So, some players are, I mean, if you're kind of looking into kind of like, you know, experimenting with, I've got something stuck in my foot and that hurts. Ah! Bit of wood. Ah, that was painful. Okay, yeah, but if you're looking into kind of like, you know, just making, you know, the wah pedal not to go wah wah wah. Looking into people like, you know, Jimi Hendrix, John Frusciante, Brian Robertson of Thin Lizzy was a great wah pedal user. Mick Ronson. Mark Knopfler uses the wah pedal in a really cool way. Who else? I mean, there's a million. Everybody uses the wah wah pedal, but I would say they're my kind of top picks for kind of like wah wah players. Because no one else really, you know, and Slash is really cool as well. Slash uses a wah pedal in a very kind of expressive but kind of funny kind of way. If you take like the intro to the solo of like Sliver or something, he kind of does this kind of you know, he's using the wah pedal to emphasize those bends, like wah, you know, instead of it just being, you know, Slash really uses the wah to kick it up. You know, it really emphasises those bends. So, so yeah, I mean, they're the kind of people I'd look into and kind of look at their solos and how they're using it. But it's an expression thing, and you will develop your own style with the wah pedal. After kind of like, you know, like copying certain people's kind of styles, you will kind of develop your own of how to use the wah pedal in your way, and then it'll become second nature and you won't think about it. And I think that's the best thing, is not when you get to that point where you're not thinking about it, that's when, you know, that's when the fun happens. When you don't have to think about it, you just do it. You're not bothered about what anybody else is thinking. You're just lost in the music and you're just using wah pedal. You know, it's just awesome. Also, people like Kirk Hammett use wah pedal really well. I mean, wah is one of Kirk's main effects and always has been. It's, you know, it's one of his staple sounds. It's like one of his main sounds. So, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, so yeah, I hope that's answered your question anyway. On, you know, on all those kind of things. Like I said, I'll do a video on the DS2 volume jump and all that kind of thing. And I'll use the CR120 for it, because a lot of people seem to be having this issue. So I'll do that. Hopefully, I think it'll be this Friday. I'll do that video for. I'll do it for this Friday. But if I don't get to it this week, I will do it next week. If something else comes up this Friday, I'll do it next week. And I'll do it in a proper video, and I'll explain the ins and outs of it, just so it's easy to kind of to help you out, and also kind of like, you know, an easier link to find, so to say. Okay, so I'm going to move on to question 2 now. Okay, so question 2 today is, can you recommend a smaller amp than the Bandit, the Peavey Bandit, for small gigs? Would the orange CR35 do the job? Not really. The CR35 is a great amp, but I wouldn't say it's really loud enough to gig with. It's more of just like a round house kind of amp. The amp I would recommend, if you're after a smaller amp than the Bandit, would be if you're looking at orange, definitely the CR60. I'm in love with mine. It's just like I'm using it way too much, and I just love it to bits. So the CR60 is an awesome way to go. Also, there's the Marshall. Oh, I sound like a broken old record here. There's the Marshall MG 50 DFX. They did a 50-watt combo. That's really good for gigging, and it's shockingly loud. It'll, again, stun donkeys at 50 paces. Bang! Down they go. But yeah, the CR60, the MG. What else is there? I'm sure there's like the Boss Katana. Again, I can't get hold of a Boss Katana. It's really annoying me, because I really would love to try Boss Katana. But Boss Katana do a 50 watt. I'm sure that would do the trick. What else is there? I mean, there's a million amps out there that'll do that. For small gigs as well. They're the only ones I can think of. Yes, there's the Boss Katana. There's also the Marshall Code. They do a 50 watt as well. So yeah, the Marshall Code, the Marshall MG 50 DFX, the older model, not the newer models, the Boss Katana, and the orange CR60. They're the ones I can come up with off the top of my head. I haven't tried the Code, and I haven't tried the Katana, so I can't say from my own experience if they're good. But everybody else says they're brilliant, so you know, I'm sure they are great, and hopefully I'll get my hands on one day. So yeah, that would be my kind of 4. I would go for if you're after a small, lighter kind of amp, just for small gigs, because you want to be able to kind of. I mean, my idea of amps, even if it's a small gig, I'll still take a quite high-powered amp, because I'd rather have the power and not need it than not have it and need it, if that makes any sense. Like, I'd much prefer to have, at a gig, a 100-watt amplifier than a 30-watt amplifier, just in case I needed to be shockingly, like, you know, I needed that power, than turn up with a 30-watt amp and it be maxed out, and you just can't be heard. I've had that a few times at gigs where I've took an amp and it just hasn't quite cut it, just for certain reasons other than whatever's going on, like kind of thing. So that's why I love 100-watt amps, because you can't go wrong with a 100-watt amp. It's going to tower above anything. So so yeah, that'd be my kind of 4 picks. People of the tube, what would your smaller gig combo be? I'm sure there's a Vox as well. I'm sure the Vox would do it. Maybe not the Valve Reactor series, because they seem to be really quiet, and it seems to be their #1 letdown. To me, anyway, the AC30 VR that I tried was ridiculously quiet. You couldn't gig it. You just couldn't. You couldn't get that above a drum kit. It was just silly. I don't know if it's just the one that I tried was not quite right. I don't know, but yeah, people of the tube, help this fellow out, and let us know your picks for good small gigging amps. Okay, so hope that's a question. Moving on to question 3 now. Okay, so question 3 is, what do you think to the new Marshall Origin series? I haven't played for an Origin series, but I have watched quite a few videos on them, especially the head. I watched like the Anderton's video, I've watched a Marshall product video, and I really like the sound of the head. Like Anderton's did a really cool video on all of them. I really like the sound of the head, but I do prefer heads over combos. But I really like the sound of the 50-watt head. It just sounded very classic, kind of Marshall kind of sound. I don't know, I really liked it, and I love the way it looks. They do look really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, hopefully at some point I can get my dirty little long-nailed fingers on one, and you know, I'll hopefully be able to do a video on it. But it's just a case of like finding somebody who's willing to lend me it, or you know, because I'll never be able to afford to buy one. especially not with recent circumstances, which I'm not going to bore you with. But yeah, I mean, they look really cool. They look like old Marshalls, which they look like Plexis, which to me is just the ultimate amplifier look ever. I adore, I love the look of the. Every time I look at the Plexi, I'm just like, yes, you got, Jim Marshall, you nailed that. It's like the Strat, it just nailed it, and Les Pauls and Telecasters, they're just perfect kind of shapes, so to say. They're just iconic as well. So I would like to try one. They just sound proper, like proper nice, Marshalls. Some of the newer Marshalls I tried, I'd never got on with. Stuff like the TSL Marshall, I always found was just a bit too fizzy, especially using single coils. Like the JCM 2000s are okay, but the Ultra Gain can get a bit fizzy if you're using single coils. But I would love to try something like the Origin series, because it does seem to harken back to that older Marshall Plexi style amp, like JTM 45 kind of style amp, and and I love those kind of amps. So I would love to try one at some point. But from what I've heard, I mean, I love the sound of them. I reckon they sound really cool and they look really cool. So, but I say from a first-hand experience, I can't really comment as I haven't tried one as of yet. But hopefully in the future. So people of the tube, what is your opinion on the Marshall Origin series, and have you tried one? And if so, what was it like? Was it good, bad, or really terrible, or amazing? Let us know in the comment section below if you've tried one or you own one. Yes, so I hope that's answered your question. Move on to question 4 now. Okay, so question 4. This might be a bit of a long answer, so just strap in, get a cup of tea ready. How do you make your intro jams, and how do you set your drum machine, and so on? Right, my intro jams are just on the spot before the video. I don't have any kind of preconceived, most of the time I don't have a preconceived idea of what I'm going to do until I just come in here and I plug in and I'll start playing. And I'll start playing just like chord progressions, and the chord progression will spring to mind. I'm like, oh, that's quite nice, where does that go? And my brain will just kind of like, or, well, not necessarily my brain, but I will kind of feel it out, and I'll just kind of get led in a certain way. So, let me get rid of the initial one. So the one today, for instance, I was sat watching an interview with Paul Gilbert on YouTube, and I was just playing through these chords, and this chord progression came out. And I don't know where it'd been. It's been locked in the back of my head, or it just came out. And I just came up with this chord progression about. It just came out, and I just came through here. I recorded the loop on. I set up a drum machine, recorded the loop, and then I played through the kind of like song structure. They've always kind of like in a verse and a chorus. So to say this one's got like the intro jam had like a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. But then I played it through and edited some overdubs, and then I got the levels right with my lead tone, and then I just pressed record on the camera and went for it basically, and didn't think. That's one of the things that I do with the intro jams and the Untitled is I don't think about them. I just do it, and if it's good, it's good. If it's not good, when I watch it back, I do watch them back just to make sure I like them and think they're half decent. I have thrown some away in the past where I've like, no, I'm not putting that out. But if I really like it, then I'll keep it. But if I don't, I'll delete it. But and it's also to watch it back is to make sure the levels are okay and not kind of like silly out fluctuating, like something isn't drowning something else out. You can hear everything. So yeah, that's what I do. That's my kind of like philosophy on it. So that's what I do is I just kind of come up with chord progression. I record it with the drum machine. Then I'll record an overdub if I feel like there's an overdub in there that I want to do, and then I'll just level it out with the distortions I'm going to use or the lead tone I'm going to use, and then I'll just set up a camera, press record, and just see where it goes. So as for setting up and what I do, this is what I do. I'll show you now. Okay, so you've joined me on the floor. I know a pedal board. So when you engage, all the drum machine sounds you hear, 99.9% of the time are coming from my Zoom G2 here. I do have my Zoom drum machine up there, but I don't use it a great. I think I've used it in one intro jam ever, so it's 99.9% of the time it's the Zoom G2's inbuilt drum machine that I use. But the only problem with the inbuilt drum machine is if you're playing, as you can hear I've got reverb on, that's coming from a pedal. As soon as you engage the drum machine, the reverb goes away. So the reverb's gone away there, so I just use the amp reverb. And I normally set it about 6, so it's about 1 o'clock, and it just adds a real nice, bit of a cool, a bit more of an ambience to the drums instead of them just being kind of like, dry and sterile like this. Yeah, which is cool, but it's not, I don't know, I don't feel that's very inspiring. So what I'll do for the drum beat wise is I'll just basically click play and just cycle through some of the patterns. I quite like that one. That one sticks out to me. So I don't know why, but that sticks out to me. Then I'll pick a tempo. So that's the pattern sort. So I've got the tempo now, which so it's about 90 BPM. Then the level, I'll do like this. Basically, I'll just kind of like I'm gonna have to come up with a chord progression on top of my head quick. But if I've got a chord progression already in mind, I'll play it along with the drum pattern and see if it fits. So. Cool. It's not drowning. My guitar isn't drowning the drums out. You can kind of still hear everything. So that's quite a nice kind of level. So I've got my drum pattern. I've got the tempo. I've got the reverb on. So then what I do is I'll set my ditto looper with the level just at 12 o'clock. So it's kind of like kind of middle. And then what I'll do is I'll just set the drum pattern going, and I'll click record on the ditto looper, and I'll just see where it takes me. So let's do that. So I'll come up with another chord progression. What I'll do is actually I'll do a verse and a chorus, and then I'll show you how I'll set up the level and the distortions and what I'll use then. So drum pattern. Oh yeah. Sometimes I might let the drum pattern play through a couple of bars before I actually come in, but I'm going to come in straight away here. Pick a key, any key. C sharp minor. So, start the loop. Okay, so now I've got my loop in. So that's how I've recorded my loop, I've got my chord progression, I've got the drums in. Then I can kind of start adding overdubs if I want. So I can start kind of adding like maybe like a synthy kind of chorusy kind of sound. Like that might sound really cool over the top. So what I'll do is I'll just go for an overdub. got like a loop there. It's not the best in the world, but you know, it's a loop, and then I can kind of like just, so I've got that, make sure it works. Something went wrong at the beginning there, but that's okay. So I'm going to use the governor and the DS2 for the lead sound and make it, you know, really kind of singy. So let's see if these match up with that. That's pretty good. It's pretty much spot on. So, this is my favourite looper pedal. The Ditto Looper X2 is amazing. I absolutely adore this looper pedal. It's amazing. So yeah, that's basically it. So everything's kind of set now. That's how I got the drum sound. It's just basically finding the one that I like the sound of on the day. Got a chord progression. Got a little bit of an overdub in there. Yeah, I messed up at the beginning, but that's okay. It's only, you know, I wouldn't keep that. Basically, I would redo it again if I was kind of like, you know, doing this properly. But I say this is, you know, example of how I do it. So got that, got the overdub, got the drums, got everything set up, got the lead sound I want to use level. So now it'd just be a case of pressing record on the camera and going for it. So let's do that, see where it goes. Okay, so governor on first. I'm not going to kick a DS2 on yet because it does that. So I'm going to kick on the DS2 literally a split second after I start the loop, and I'm going to start on a root note. Why not? Actually, no, I don't know where I'm going to start. I don't know. The song, the chords are C sharp minor. I don't know what the chords are. I can't remember what they are. C sharp. I know it's in C sharp minor. That's all. That's it. That's all that matters. That is literally like because I don't think about it. It just kind of. It leads me where it wants it to go, so to say. So that's just, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to use. Governor DS2. So start the loop. See where we go. So yeah, that's it. That's how I create all the intro jams and stuff like that. It's not really, there's not really kind of like any. There's like a plan that I kind of stick to, but because I'm a creature of habit, that's kind of what I do. But sometimes I don't have any preconceived ideas of like chord progressions. Like I didn't there. I just picked a key and went with it. And there's no preconceived idea of drum pattern or anything like that, or no preconceived idea of what kind of melodies I'm going to go for or anything like that. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, but most of the time it's just kind of like off the cuff, which is a lot of the Untitleds are just kind of like, I'll just come in here, I'll start playing something, I'm like, oh, that's quite cool, and I'll just set the camera up, click record, and just see where it goes. So yeah, so that's how I do my intro jams, and it's I don't know, it's pretty boneheaded, I would say. Well, for me, it's pretty simple. It's just a case of hearing what inspires me at that kind of point in time. Like, you know, if I come up with a chord progression or a certain drum pattern might bring out something. It's pretty, you know, and kind of like, you know, whatever comes out, so to say. And like I say, sometimes I'll come out with things that I don't like. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, and I'll just stop recording it and delete it and just get rid of it because it doesn't feel right. And if it doesn't feel right, I don't really want to know. But like the intro jam today felt really good, and that little jam there actually felt really nice. You know, when I kind of got into it, even with the weird kind of like weird overtone out of tune thing at the beginning, which I don't even know what that was, but you know, it felt really kind of cool. There was something there that was really nice. So so yeah, that's how I create the little intro jams. Really, it's quite, yeah, quite straightforward. It's just being inspired to kind of do it, because some days you're not inspired to do it. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question. Moving on to question 5 now. Okay, so question 5 is what do you think of the discontinued Toronado by Fender, and also could you talk about Fender offsets and discontinued guitars and recommend some? Right, the Toronado, I don't like the look of it at all, and I can see why they discontinue it. You said that John Frusciante used it in the Can't Stop video. Yeah, I remember it's that orange one with 2 humbuckers. I remember him saying at the time he hated the guitar and he smashed it. When he's hitting the chairs with it and stuff, that's because he doesn't like the guitar. He hated it, so he did smash it. And I never played one, but I don't like the look of it. I mean, you could say, well, it's just a Jaguar kind of Jazzmaster kind of shape, but it looks like it's been squished. It's like a Jaguar that's eaten too many donuts. It's got fat, and it just looked a bit ugly to me. The Toronado did. I don't really like it as a guitar. There was another guitar called the it's called the Squire Venus, and a couple of other guitars that I didn't like the look of. And you know, I'm sure they're great guitars. I'm sure they play great, but it doesn't. The look of it wouldn't make me want to go and pick it up and play it. It's not aesthetically pleasing shape to my eye, you know. But you know, I'm sure they're great guitar. I'm sure they sounded good and everything. But again, it just wasn't for me as a thing. I mean, people of the tube, what's your opinion on the Fender Toronado, and do you own one? Did you like one? For me, it just didn't take out the shape. But you know, I'm sure it was a great guitar. But you know, I'm a very single-minded individual when it comes down to guitar shapes. But I'm not. I am, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just talking nonsense now. Anyway, but yeah, people of the tube, what do you think of a Fender Toronado? Sorry. I can see why this continued, but I don't think it sold well, and it is a bit. If you put it next to a Jaguar, the Jaguar or the Jazzmaster or anything like that, it looks better. The Toronado is a cool guitar. I don't want to say it's rubbish, because I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it sounded great, and I'm sure it could play great, and I'm sure, you know, it wasn't a piece of garbage. I'm sure there was something brilliant in it. It's just, for me, it just, you know, it just, I don't know. It just, I don't know. I don't like the look of them. I just don't like the look of it. It just doesn't look. I don't know. I just don't like it. But Fender offsets. I mean, other than that, I don't know really what Fender offsets are to hate. I mean, the Jazzmaster and the Jaguars. I mean, I love Jaguars above all other offsets. I love Jaguars. I like Jazzmasters, but not so much. I don't really like the sound of a Jazzmaster. I like the sound of a Jaguar more. The Jazzmaster to me is a little bit brighter than a Jag, and I don't really like that as much. I prefer the Jag over the Jazzmaster. Jazzmaster are awesome. Mustangs are amazing guitars. I love Mustangs. They're really, really, really cool guitars. Same with Duosonics and Music Masters and stuff like that. They're really, really awesome guitars. They are. Also, I remember playing the Kurt Cobain Jag Stang, and that was a really cool guitar. That is weird looking. The Jag Stang is really strange looking. I nearly bought one, but it sold before I got there, and I got my white Strat instead, and I don't regret that for a second. But the Jag Stang is a really, really cool guitar. It's a great, great guitar. And that guitar was just like ridiculously good. It was. I remember playing. It was really. I played a couple, and they are really, really nice. But I do like Mustangs. Stars to recommend. Well, any of them. You know, Jaguars, Jazzmasters, they're the same shape, and the Mustangs. You know, Mustangs, Duosonics, Music Masters. They're all kind of the same. I'd recommend any offset. I know Mark Agnesi from Norman's Rare Guitars likes to put up the hips and stuff about the offsets, which I find hysterical. I love them. But you know, as much as as much as they kind of like, whatever. There's that amazing picture of like, I only play Jazz Masters and Jaguars. Kind of thing. I love that. It's hysterical. But yeah, I've got this mental image of that in my head now. Get out of my head! But yeah, they are great guitars. I would just check them all out. Jaguars, Jazz Masters, Mustangs, Duosonics, and Music Masters. I think it's called a Music Master. I don't know what it was. It was like just a single neck pickup guitar, but they're old. But yeah, any of them really, they're all cool. Just try them and just see, see if any tickle your pickle, so to say. Interesting statement there, Dave. Tickle your pickle. Strange statement. Anyway, on that weird saying, I hope that's answered your question. But oh yeah, before I go, people with a tube, before I finish this question, are there any other offsets out there that you could recommend? Well, I can think of another one that's come to mind. Revelation. How did that not spring to mind straight away? I think it's because we were just on the Fender thing. But other than Fender, you get like guitars like Revelation, like the quad that I've got, is just ridiculous. What the hell? Where did that guitar come from? It's amazing. I love it to bits. It's 4 pickups as well. I mean, tonal variation to die for. But yeah, Revelation do some amazing offset guitars that are really kind of unique as well. It's got that offset body shape, but they're very unique in like, the pickups and the switching. They've got their own thing, and the necks are different to a Jazz Master or a Jaguar as well. They've got their own neck, which is really ridiculously comfy. And in my I was playing mine the other day, and I was like, I finally remember. I know what this neck reminds me of, because for ages and ages I was trying to think of what the neck on the Revelation reminded me of. Because it bears a resemblance to a Les Paul with the binding and the fretboard and everything. It's kind of the same measurements as kind of like a Les Paul, but I was like, but it's got something else about it with the rolled edges, and I was like, what is it? And I remembered it's like a PRS in a way. The neck's a weird combination of like a Gibson and a PRS. I kind of finally narrowed it down to kind of like, that's what it kind of reminds me of. So yeah, Revelation, any Squier or Fender offsets, just try them all. They're great fun. Mustangs are just brilliant guitars, but for me, I don't think you can get much better offset wise than like a Jaguar. I just love something. It's something about a Jag that is just really, really cool, and it's it's very kind of iconic looking guitar. And the 3/4 neck is just heaven on a Jaguar as well. It just makes it so easy to play. It does have its issues, the bridge and all that kind of thing, but they are solvable and stuff like that. But yeah, people with a tube. Any offsets I've missed that you could recommend to this fellow? Write in the comment section below. So yes, I hope that's answered your question. Moving on to final question today now, question 6. Okay, so question 6 is what do you think about strats with coil splittable humbuckers in the bridge? I really, well, hang on. Give me a second. I happen to have one here. Ding, 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 ding. I really like the idea of having a coil splittable humbucker in the bridge on a Strat. I remember when I was in London, at the Institute of Music in London, all the big session guys would swear that if you had a Strat with a humbucker in the bridge that was coil tappable, you had the ultimate session guitar, because there's nothing you can't get out of it. You can get a really cool kind of out of phase position 2 and 4. You can get the neck pickup kind of sound. You've got a middle pickup, and you've also got a bridge single coil and humbucker if you need to do kind of heavy rock stuff. So not only do you kind of have like your really cool kind of not only do you have that, with a flick of a switch and kicking distortion on, you get really fat humbucker sounds. Yeah, so like they would always say it's like the ultimate session guitar, a Strat with a humbucker in the bridge that's coil tappable, because you can get so much out of it, and again, just being just really, really comfortable to play, for long periods of time. I mean, I know for a fact that sitting in a studio environment with Les Paul, sometimes if you sat there for a long time with like a big guitar, it can be uncomfortable. So having like something as contoured as the Strat, it can be is a lot more comfortable to use. And a lot of those kind of like iconic kind of sounds you hear of like, you know, yeah, right. Oh. You know, it's really iconic studio kind of clean sound. You know, of position 2 or 4 on a Stratocaster that you hear all the time. You know, you can get them, but at the same time you can get your big heavy rock thing. So if you kind of so I don't know, but a lot of people will swear by the Strat with a humbucker, especially a lot of the session guys who I spoke to in London. They swore that if you had a Strat, like I said, with a humbucker, coil splitable, you can't go wrong. It's the ultimate, like I say, it's the ultimate session guitar because it just does everything. Then you've got the big rock humbucker sound, you've got the nice kind of single coil jangly sound as well, and also, I suppose a humbucker in the bridge is really cool if you're in a live situation. Like Andy Timmons, his signature guitar, I really love the sound of his signature guitar because it's got that real fat humbucker bridge sound, but when he goes to the neck, it's still a humbucker, but it's got like that stratty single coil thing. But I suppose that's really cool if you get, you know, the 60 cycle hum and you flick into a humbucker and it goes away. So if you're in a noisy venue, you can just kind of cancel that out. So. And they're DiMarzio Invaders, I think. No, is it Invader? No, it's not. I don't know what. I can't remember what a neck pickup of Andy Timmons' guitar is now. I could be right. I could be wrong. Probably wrong. I'm always mostly wrong with stuff like that. I'm not very good with remembering technical aspects of guitars. But his own signature humbucker in the bridge. But yeah, so it's really cool. I reckon it's a guitar that it's one of those kind of guitars that everyone should kind of own. Is like a Strat with a humbucker because it just has a certain versatility that a Les Paul on its own doesn't have, and a Strat with 3 single coils doesn't have. It's got something else about it, and it's just really, really cool. And I say having it coil tappable is just the absolute bonus. And especially something like a switch like that where it's easy to get to and you can get to it at a moment's notice is really, really cool. So yeah, I really like it. I think it's really, really cool. I don't use it a great deal because I'm not really a big humbucker kind of fan. They're great for certain things, but I'm more of a single coil nut. I like the 60 cycle hum kind of sound and, you know, that kind of thing. But they have their place, and the humbucker in this, when you're in kind of like a semi-overdriven kind of thing, if it's really clean, when you kick the humbucker in, it's got a real cool kind of bluesy sound to it instead of a, you know, the single coil kind of snappiness, so to say. So yeah, I would recommend it. If you've got, you know, a Les Paul and another Strat with 3 single coils, I definitely recommend getting a Strat with a humbucker in the bridge that's coil splitable because it's just ridiculously versatile. So yeah, people of the tube, what do you think to the Strat with a humbucker in the bridge? So yeah, I hope that's answered your question. Yeah, and that's it. That's all the questions for this Q&A, everybody. I hope I've answered your questions okay. I hope go on and have a great day, everybody, or morning, or afternoon, or good evening. And oh yeah, by the way, also another thing, in the description box below, somebody asked, can I put some of my gig dates up? So in the description box below, I've put my gig dates up for some for Trio and the Dukes, Deluda, in the description box below where I'll be playing live. But I will warn you, they're not that far afield from where I live because I really struggle to get gigs anywhere other than places I'm already kind of got into, so to say. I really do struggle to kind of get around and get gigs in this day and age. It's getting harder and harder to get gigs especially being an unknown band, it's really difficult. A lot of places don't want to risk that, so to say. So, but yeah, below it in the description box, below all the questions, are all the gig dates I've got for this year so far. I will obviously get more, but there are all the gig dates I've got so far for this year. So, so yeah, that's all then. Like I say, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again very soon on Friday for another one. Depending on what it is, I'm not sure yet, but it probably be the S2 explanations and all that kind of thing, and why the volume jumps and all that lot. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. Goodbye now.